o'clock here, Eastern Standard Time. I don't have much time to be with you, about 25 minutes, and I'll have a little chat with you here. I want to thank you. This is Brad. I've been on here working on podcasting all day today. Did a couple of videos and posted them for you. And I wanted to thank you to my YouTube friends for just a very, very powerful time we've had together. This is Good Friday. It indeed is good. This is something that is so, so very powerful. And the key that I want to bring you in the time that we have is from John chapter 19. As I told you, if you'd like to read about the crucifixion accounts, you'll read them in Matthew chapter 27, Mark chapter 15, Luke chapter 23, and John chapter 19. John chapter 19, we see this. John is presenting Jesus as the Son of God, emphasizing his deity. He steps it up. He says to the reader, I now show you Jesus, the God-man. We have Jesus as 100% God, 100% man. And as we see this passage here, there's something very important I wanted to share with you. So thank you for coming along on this time. I'll be on for about 20 minutes. I wanted to share something because, you know, this is a very, very powerful time on this Friday. And as we see the truths in the scriptures here, we take a look here, and in this passage in John chapter 19 is one of them. If you want to look at the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the passages I told you about, John 19, 20, and 21, you're going to find a very, very powerful passage here. Now, so let me read something here with this in the context. I just felt it was important for me before I wrap up the day and then head on down from the barn studio here to the farmhouse to share something with you in a final moment here. And you can share with your family at devotions tonight, or if you just want a devotional reading, then I'd like you to share this here. And so I want to thank you so much for being here. Here's what we have. John chapter 19, whenever Christ has been wearing that crown of thorns, and indeed, he will be crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords, as we see in the scriptures. He is wearing many crowns in Revelation chapter 19. John 19, he has the crown of thorns of humility, and we have Revelation 19, he's wearing the crowns of victory. So, when I take a look here, the crucifixion, you're going to see it starting in verse 16. Something I want to share with you, very powerful. So I'm going to read this, and I'm going to read here today, as we rotate the different translations, I'm going to go to the Legacy Version to get a very exacting Greek to English presentation here. So I'm going to start reading in in John chapter 16. And so Pilate then delivered Jesus over to them to be crucified. They took Jesus, therefore, and Jesus went out bearing his own cross to the place called the place of a skull, which is called in Hebrew, Golgotha. You see then, there they crucified him, and with him two other men, one on either side, and Jesus in between. And I reminded you this morning, that is in fulfillment of the prophecy of Isaiah 53 and verse 12, that he would be assigned, the punishment would be with the wicked, and as the scripture says, he was between two malefactors, which just means a thief. Well, you see it here, okay? Fulfillment of prophecy here. Pilate wrote an inscription and put it on the cross. It was written, Jesus the Nazarene, the King of the Jews. Therefore, many of the Jews read the inscription, and for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and it was written in Hebrew, Latin, and in Greek. So you have three languages making this a universal claim here. And when he says this, the chief priest of the Jews is saying to Pilate, hey, don't write the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am the King of the Jews. Pilate probably has one sensible thought in his head during all of this. He says, well, what I have written, I've written. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments and made four parts, a part to each shoulder, and also his tunic. And this is in, when you take a look at this, this is also talking about, let's see, we go back, and that is going to be in Psalm 22, verse 18. They're going to part his garments. We see that there as well. That is a prophecy fulfilled too. And now that tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from the top. They said, let's not tear it, but cast lots for it, gamble for it. to decide who shall it be. This was in order that the scripture would be fulfilled. They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. Yeah, you're seeing that fulfillment of that scripture. That it just tells you this fulfilling a prophecy here. Therefore the soldiers did these things. But standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother, the disciple whom he loved, that would be John, standing there, he said, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." From that hour on, the disciple took her into his home. And in those days, you didn't have welfare, and families took care of family. Joseph has already passed on into eternity. We don't know what had happened, but Jesus says, "Now, John, I need you to take her in." And he does. After this, Jesus, knowing that all things had already been finished, in order to finish the scripture, he says, "I'm thirsty." He needs to get enough into his throat to be able to make the final cry. A jar full of sour wine was standing there, so they put a sponge full of the sour wine upon a branch of hyssop and brought it to his mouth. That's another prophecy that's being fulfilled. That's going to be Psalm 69 and verse 21. Okay, we're seeing all these prophecies we talked about this morning, but that's not what I want. What I want to show you is this. Therefore, when Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, "It is finished." Bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. He said, "It's finished," which means in all of this, there was a task to be complete. There was one penalty upon mankind, as we saw. That's the penalty of sin. It is one grievous penalty that's put there, not a series of penalties. One cascading condemnation, damnation upon mankind. That was from the fall of Adam. Don't start blaming Adam and Eve. We would have done the same thing. In there, as it says in 1 John 2, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, we would have fallen to. Be real about this, okay? How many days can we go through without falling and failing? We know this, okay? Because of that, the condemnation of sin is upon us. But remember this. When we see this here, we then read through the scriptures on how this has taken care of. That one penalty, that universal condemnation, Romans 3:23, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. How do we get the freedom from this? Hebrews chapter 7, Hebrews chapter 9, Hebrews chapter 10 say, Christ died once to cover this. One time, there was one payment. He said, "It's done." I can recall whenever I was in Boy Scouts, for example, and we all went out and we did 16 miles over the weekend. I think I was 12 years of age. We did 16 miles of the Appalachian Trail. We got hit in a rainstorm. We were soaked. We came around a corner, and there were the cars receiving us, and the Scoutmaster said, "It's done, fellas. Head to the cars and warm up." It was done. Or I can remember whenever I stepped over there and that morning got up and went over and put on the graduation robes of the undergrad when I got my Bachelor of Arts in Bible. And I took that and I looked over at one of my classmates and said, "We did it. I mean, we're going forward. This is the graduation. It's finished. I do not have to go back into undergrad and go back all the way through." When I got my master's and they handed me that degree, and I thought, wow, in MA, I did it. I was able to do it. And then my family came with me when I got my PhD. I don't have to go back and get that again. It's done once, all right? And when my wife gave birth to our son, another son, and a daughter, she doesn't have to give them a rebirth. One time, believe me, with my wife is enough. It was done. And then the completion of the beautiful baby that is there for us, it's finished. And then this condemnation, it's one. It's not a continual thing. We don't have to worry about purgatory. We don't have to worry about limbo. We don't have to worry about a determined amount of what are we supposed to do? Where do we go? Okay, it's been done. Christ did this, okay? It is finished. All right, now because it's finished, then we've hit that threshold. We move into the new, which is what our channel is all about, the Heaven Channel, okay? The Heaven Tour. What does it say in Revelation chapter 21? Behold, I make all things new. Why? Because the old's finished. I see a new heaven and a new earth. The old heaven and the old earth is passed away. All right? And all of these things, those things were gone. Those were, these things are all new. And so the hope of the believer is this: as I have given my life over to Christ, as he says, you're in my family now. John chapter 10, verses 27 through 30. You're a follower, follow me all the way into heaven. He took care of it. This Good Friday we celebrate, he took care of it. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 12 says this: he was the sacrifice, that one sacrifice for sin. Romans chapter 6 and verse 10 says the very same thing. He was that sacrifice once for all. So when we go to him, it's not, well, I'll take care of 10% of your problem. All right, well, let's split it 50-50. You suffer for this, you go to the cross, we'll just, no, he took care of it all. That's true love. That's true love. And that's the Greek word agape. Agape, the love that goes beyond emotion. It's the highest Greek word describing love in the entire language of the Greeks. There are many different words talking about loyalty. Storge is parental love. Eros is a selfish love, a lustful love. But agape, boy, that's a 100% love, expecting nothing in return. And that's the word used for John 3:16 as well. It's finished. It's done. We see at this time, Christ, if we're following this on Eastern Standard Time, Christ has expired from his earthly life, and now he is in heaven, and this has all been made real. Just a wonderful thing. Well, listen, I'm going to take a few minutes here before I wrap things up and say hi to you all and maybe handle some questions here. Kayla and Donovan, hey, good to see you here. Just got in here. Franklin from Arizona, good to see you. And Sebastian, how can grown adults believe a fairy tale? Sebastian, let me ask you something. You may have never been asked this, too. Sounds very easy to come on and cast stones. What do you believe? All right? Do you know, Mr. Sebastian, if you're indeed on here, and I really doubt it, because a lot of people will run in and do graffiti. Let's take a look. Let's see if he's actually on here. What has it been, friends? 39 times in this past year, I have asked the accuser to come up and present their side. 39 times they've run. So I find that, Sebastian, you may be the first one, because when you come on, you've come into our room, and you are most welcome. And so you believe in something. So I'm going to ask you, Sebastian, so you don't believe in this, but you will tell me creation is everything just started on its own, out of nothing. Really? So Sebastian, tell me, who's really following a fairy tale? But I'm going to allow you your chance to be able to answer, okay? So give me your sources. Give me your foundational belief, okay? What is your system? And please don't tell me you have no faith. Everybody has a faith, okay? You're on the spot, Sebastian. Okay. Let me see. Simply, let me see here. All right. Let me see. Oh, I see we have somebody else that's very, very upset as this. It's a joke. Well, that's not a very intelligent way to put it. If you would be, look, we follow Isaiah 1:18. Come, let us reason together. And so your presentation bespeaks an immaturity. Maybe you want to reassess that too. We find it, see, the ones who have been on here en masse will find this very curious. We have those of other faiths that will come on like ladies and gentlemen, and they will present some. They might say, I don't agree with you, but they'd say it away. But using immature terms like joke or fairy tale, it speaks more of the presenter than the one to whom it's presented. So I would ask you as well, my friend, you're into possibly a postmodern approach where you want to highly emote. But in regular debate, that's irrelevant. Among judges, it's just this. What are your facts, okay? If you're going to catcall, if you go ad hominem, that doesn't do you anything. So give me your sources too. You're on the clock, okay? Good to see you, Reese. I'm glad that you're here. Dana, wonderful. Benny, thank you for that too. There. And then Garen, I'm glad to have you. Beatrice, good to have you here. Now, you'll see, my friends, they come on and they go, and so there's no problem. What I enjoy so much? People of all faiths that come on here, and we have a time of discussion and respect. Isn't that something? So somebody said, does this bother you? Not in the least. Because what I definitely enjoy is sitting down and discussing with somebody on the joy of my faith and what I see here, and it's wonderful. And when somebody comes on with a disagreement, as you know, we are open to have that. We have nothing to hide at all. But you will find out the two people that were on here have left. They will come and go. And that also tells me there is something that they're afraid of. And the one thing I love to tell you is there is no fear. This perfect love casts out all fear. It says in 1 John chapter 4. In the love that God gives us, we share it. We share it. It's like having an unending treasure that's coming out, that we can continually share with other people. I'm glad that you're all here. John chapter 19. There are those within the realms of the faith that will call this Black Friday a very dark and a sad time. But then we also have those that call this Good Friday. With all that has happened here that we see, this is good. The pain that was taken to the cross, we're going to honor. Do you know in heaven Jesus will still bear those wounds? When you look in Revelation chapter 5, please don't be afraid of the book of Revelation. I just had a gentleman, a very, very good man who's a handyman, came around who was doing some work for me. Because of my knee, there's some things I'm limited. So I'll on occasion gather my nickels and dimes and I'll have somebody help me with a project. He came over and he sat and we were talking about at our age, we're dealing with those that are slipping into eternity of our relatives. And he said, Revelation, boy, I'm telling you what, it's scary. And I started talking with him. I said, well, there's nothing to be scared of. I said, matter of fact, the most comforting chapters that I read are Revelation 21 and 22. And he was taken aback by that. He says, well, my pastor won't touch the book of Revelation. Well, that's a shame because it's wonderful. It tells us about God's victory and the joy. Revelation chapter 5, it is wonderful to see. Jesus will be bearing the marks, and they're marks of honor. Somebody said, well, I thought there's no defects in heaven. Oh, I wouldn't call those defects. Those are badges of honor in which we celebrate wildly on that. Well, wonderful. Let's see who else we have. We have, there is Red and Sandy. Good to have you here. Alexandra, God bless you. Thank you for your encouragement. Sister, I'm glad I found this channel. Blessing, listening. Well, thank you so much. That's very, very kind. I'm very, very excited about this time. And I will be posting on Resurrection Sunday over the weekend. I'll do some different posts about the coming Resurrection Sunday too. And thank you. Studios, thank you. It's very, very kind of you to do to be able to give an encouragement here. Let me see. Dana, the only things in heaven that were made by man are the scars in the hands of Jesus. A great, great observation there. Very, very good on you, Dana. And that's the one thing that God allows this to be brought, and this is the grand celebration, the wonderful celebration. And when the honors are given to those, you see them continually. Revelation chapter 4, they're taking off their honors. Whether a crown is physical or it is a figurative term of honor, they're cast before the Lord. Oh, Lord, you receive all the honor and the glory and the blessing. That's finished. The curse is finished. Did you notice, you even saw it here today, when people will come on and they say, we've had people that will say, well, I disagree, but I want to learn. Or I disagree, but I'll listen and we can discuss. But I do notice this, and this even happened to me some years ago, and an atheist came and sat down with me, and he started going off like this. I said, can I ask you something? Why are you so angry? Was there anything that I did that was offensive to you? Did I assault you? Did I insult you? And he said, no. And I said, I want you to turn around and pretend you were me. And if all I did is I just threw a bunch of vitriolic rhetoric against you just because of what you believe, wouldn't you find this puzzling? You go, whoa, what's with all the emotion? And the man, and seeing the reflection of that, calmed down immediately and said, well, I apologize. I said, well, I just want you to know, you may not agree, but it's the same thing. Whenever I get into discussion of politics or maybe of governmental decisions and things like that, I may highly disagree with somebody across the table, but I don't know that I've ever actually gone ad hominem and just started yelling. I said, so I don't understand. That's the one puzzle that many of us Christians have upon those that do not believe. They become very, very, may I say this sometimes, even childish in this. Can we not talk? Isaiah 1:18. We can reason together, okay? All right, let's take a look here. Jose, was paradise side by side with hell before Jesus took it up to heaven when he died and descended? The Bible is silent on that. In Luke chapter 16, Jose, we see that it is established by the illustration Jesus gives that there is an inaccessible way. There is a talk there in that particular, the principle said in Luke 16 is you can't cross over. There is no bridging between these, between the condemned and the redeemed. It's just not going to happen. Whatever the location, the Bible is silent. We just don't know, all right? And with that, and I think it's a very good question. But the point is, it's some things when somebody says, well, how come God didn't give more detail? Because I think most of us, we have problems enough grasping the obvious, all right? And so, on there, we can find some things. So we just don't know. Is there any scripture that tells us what Jesus did in the time between his death and resurrection? Yes, absolutely, Reese. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put the posting on tomorrow. But let me give you a hint. Go to 2 Peter chapter 3. Read that. You'll get an idea, okay? But we do have some hints on what he actually did. And I'm going to be posting them here on YouTube. The one thing is I like to keep YouTube to the shorts, 60 seconds or less, because that seems to be more inviting to people. So I'm going to break it up and then do a series of shorts on what was actually happening. Like tonight, if we were to say Christ died and we were in Israel at this time frame, what is he doing right? What's he doing tomorrow prior to the rising? So we'll go into what the scripture says on that. But I will give you a hint. 2 Peter chapter 3. Read through that and you're going to see something there, okay? Friends, I got to go down to the farmhouse here. I hope you have a wonderful Good Friday celebration. This is indeed a very, very special time. If you're new here, my name is Brad Zockel, and I enjoy being able to share these things. I enjoy getting into the scripture and looking at my notes and writing some new notes. Every day I'm putting some new things down that I see that just give us joy and hope in heaven. And this is an amazing thing. You know, the fear that I used to have on entering into eternity, and that it was so taken care of. The peace of God can come to us, Philippians 4:7, when we are stepping into the realm of the righteous, and God giving us a peace about getting these answers from his word. Remember, Psalm 16:11, in your presence, Lord, when we get to heaven, is fullness of joy. Think about that too. Good Friday to you, says Dana. God bless you. And thank you. Have a blessed evening to all my dear friends here. God bless you. Take care. And Lord willing, we'll talk on Monday. I'll have a live stream on Monday back during the course of the weekend. Enjoy your family. I'll post some things. Won't have any live streams between now and then, though. Take care. Wonderful.